Welcome back from the break. I'm Uday. Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. Residents of Shanghai and China have been heard screaming out of their houses in videos posted on Twitter amidst the latest lockdown clamped to stop the rising cases of COVID-19. In one of the clips shared by a Twitter user, several apartments are seen lit up as people are heard screaming. Many other users also shared videos of people screaming from their houses. A user also shared footage of a drone appearing and directing people to comply with COVID restrictions and not open their windows. China is witnessing the biggest outbreak since cases of the deadly COVID-19 were first discovered in central Wuhan in 2019. More than 25,000 infections were reported in Shanghai on Sunday. Since the lockdown was imposed more than 3 weeks ago, the city's 25 million residents have been finding it difficult to find food and medicine. Residential units have been classified into 3 risk categories, and restrictions are being eased for those in areas without positive cases. Children are being taken away from their parents into quarantine camps. Let's first listen into this video, which is going viral, and then we will open it up.
这个是整个的叫，好了，终于2万人，所有人都在叫，要命了！就刚刚5分钟前头，俺叫了没几个了，现在突然之间，所有人都叫了，要死！ 要命了！再这样弄下去，我跟侬讲，真的要出事体了，操，麻烦了。根治上面呢，因为所有的人，伊都不晓得这个状态到底维持到啥个辰光。侬总要拨个标准，或者是讲有一个具体的说法。没，侬讲看，闷了7天。 当然，屋里向啊，不能出门啊，不是说不能出小区啊，这不行的，马上弄下就出。
Joining us at this point on the broadcast is Ambassador Bhashpati Mukherjee, former diplomat. We also have Madhav Nalapat, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, joining us live. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, chairman Nephron Clinic, is also live with us on the broadcast. Venus Upadhyay, South Asia expert, also joins us live, as does Dr. Shrikant Kondapalli, China and foreign policy expert. Dr. Kondapalli, let me begin with you first. These are extremely chilly videos emerging from Shanghai. What really is transpiring there, which is leading residents to be screaming almost every night?
These are all gated communities in Shanghai, and previously when the Wuhan incident took place in late 2019, they tried the e-commerce platforms to deliver food at that time. But in this case, there is the non-availability of food for almost weeks for the residents in these complexes, residential complexes. So I think the first problem is of the food shortages for all categories of people, rich, poor, middle, whatever. So that is one which really affected the public perceptions. Second, of course, is the zero COVID policy, and the leadership is quite sensitive on the spread of the virus. In recent times, after the June last year white paper that was published, in saying that they are very transparent, efficient, and so on. So they have committed to this zero COVID policy, and now with the cases increasing, they have a problem of face. It's called mianzi in Chinese. That is a very important thing for the Chinese policy leaders, because in November we have the 20th Party Congress being held. And Xi Jinping has staked his 3rd term in the 20th Party Congress, and so this is becoming a problematic. Because the rival faction leader Hu Chunhua is heading the food and agriculture-related affairs in as a vice premier of the State Council. He was supposed to be the 6th generation of leader, but he was not made in 2017 in the 19th Party Congress. So there is also the factional angle to this, and Premier Li Keqiang also mentioned about the stagnation in economy if you follow the zero COVID policy in this fashion. I mean, there are countries like Scandinavian countries which went to the other extreme, where they didn't even follow any social distancing or even masking. They did pay price, but you have the other extreme case where you completely lock down one area and see what the results would be, and the other experiment of no controls at all, like Boris Johnson had also mentioned in UK recently. So the issue then is food supplies and the domestic political situation. So out of 27,000 cases a day, 25,000 cases are reflected in Shanghai. So that is where, because that is also the place where you have substantial GDP produced. Nearly 2 to 3% of the GDP is produced in Shanghai, Pudong Special Economic Zone. And so this is a major significance for the economy as well. They already were in the low economic growth rate compared to 10% previously to 5.8 and so on. So this is another major concern, because immediately in November, there will be a party congress. The leadership issues are decided in that party congress. So all these will be taken into consideration when the party congress assembles. Uday?
Yes, Professor Nalapat, these are, of course, though draconian policies, stringent lockdowns when the world is opening up, is beginning to live with the virus, is beginning to encourage us not to let go of our guard, but not adopt such draconian measures, which are obviously bad for country's economic health, but also not very good for one's mental health either. And the Chinese residents obviously can't come out on the streets to protest, so they're deciding to do it through their windows.
Well, I'd like to point out, something which Dr. Wonderfully, for lack of time, I'm sure, did not mention, which is that Shanghai is a stronghold of the Jiang Zemin faction. The Jiang Zemin faction at one time helped Xi Jinping to come to power in place of Bo Xilai, because they thought Xi Jinping will basically follow the party guidebook of Deng Xiaoping. But Xi Jinping believes that he is definitely different from Deng. And he says he is, along with Mao, but possibly he regards himself as different from Mao as well. So this is frankly the way you're seeing this activity in Shanghai. In my opinion, and I have a little bit of knowledge of China, and again I would like to repeat, I have great affection for that country, and I have immense respect for Chinese Communist Party. They have done miracles, and they have created a real powerhouse, which is why it is so dangerous now when the Xi Jinping wants China to dominate the Indo-Pacific and later the world. But I'd like to point out that this is a direct blow at the Jiang Zemin faction in advance of the party congress. That look what I can do to your strong points. And it will not be coincidental if Jiang Zemin faction still acts up. And then you will find other cities where Jiang Zemin faction is strong. Other factions where the Hu Jintao faction is strong. And then these cities also, you're going to see similar lockdowns. Look, from the very beginning, I have been a little worried about the fact that, thanks to China and WHO, COVID-19 has been seen as a disease more horrible than AIDS, than rabies, than cholera, than smallpox, all put together. If you look at the literature of that period, it's the most horrible disease ever known to man. And that was the justification for bringing in administrative measures that have frankly impacted the lives of so many citizens and cost so many tens of millions of jobs. Whether they have been successful or not in these very harsh draconian measures, I've been a little doubtful all through, but possibly, how do you prove that but for these measures, the deaths would have been more or the cases would have been more? Well, the cases were very high despite these measures in 2021 as well. And the Prime Minister wisely decided no national lockdown. He has wisely decided, unlike Trudeau and Scott Morrison, normally a sensible chap, unlike Trudeau, God knows why he did this, no, absolutely no vaccine mandate. I am glad the Prime Minister of India has been very sensible in handling this particular virus, because in 2020, India was railroaded by the WHO, which in turn was, in my view, responding to cues from from China. And I think Xi Jinping is anxious for the world to get into another disastrous lockdown for reasons of his own. But definitely, he is taking revenge on Jiang Zemin's faction by going after a city, humiliating the city that is the seat of power of this faction.
All right, Professor Nalapat, stay with us. In fact, let's now quickly play out another snippet, another video coming in. This is a video where we can see a man lose his temper out of frustration on the streets of Shanghai.
你告诉我超市不开门，我买什么？我吃什么？我喝什么？你把人逼死了！我不多吃，我住不多，我生在这实惠的。我实惠是我父母给你们供了2个月，这2个月他们怎么过的？
So let me get in Ambassador Bashwati Mukherjee at this point. Ambassador Mukherjee, not just residents screaming from their windows, but a man on the streets losing his temper, shouting, saying out of frustration that supermarkets are closed, there is food shortage, he doesn't know where he can get things to drink. His parents and grandmother he's worried for. Ambassador Mukherjee, can you hear me? Okay, I don't know if we have Ambassador Mukherjee there just yet, but let me get in Dr. Sanjeev Bagai at this point. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, your first reaction to these very horrific videos emerging, sir, from China of frustrated citizens.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I think nothing ceases to amaze us now. We've been so now, apart from the vaccine immunity, we've got immune to the misconduct of China as a country, not only to its irresponsible nature towards the world, but completely regressive attitude towards its own citizens. China for decades has been opaque and a closed society. Apart from being global jokes, not following any international norms, they've been pioneers in abusing human rights, strangulating public opinion, oppressing and suppressing ethnic minorities. They're habitual offenders. If you just go through very quickly, serially, the set of events, the pandemic was only declared in early 2020. But the fact is, on 13th of December in 2019 was the first case which was documented with COVID-like illness. Nothing is known about that family, which was shifted to a military hospital, very close to the headquarters there. Nothing is known to the first whistleblower of a doctor who actually alerted the world that this kind of infection is spreading. Till date, it's been more than 2 years, we have no formal inquiry. WHO, of course, the stand leaves a lot to be desired. Very clearly, they're hand in glove with China. It's a compromised society, organization. China has not published any data to begin with for vaccines, which had very poor efficacy to begin with. What data which came out initially was just a mere 50%. The vaccine efficacy dipped to below 30%. A lot of the countries in Latin America and Southeast Asia actually dumped the vaccines back on China and had to import other brands of vaccines. And actually, this is the price now what China is paying of fudging data, manipulating data, hiding and concealing facts. And we don't know what is the real efficacy of the vaccines within the mainland of China. Apart from that, if you see, even till date, locking up citizens, leaving citizens without food and water, not even ready to listen to a common citizen's voice, is nothing as compared to rolling out tanks in Tiananmen Square in 1980s and running down tens and thousands of innocent citizens who were just university students. So I think China has a lot to answer. Perhaps they will never answer. Perhaps the world will not have the zeal and the steel to actually stand up together, united, to ask them. But I think this is a very clear violation, again, of human rights, of simple citizens expressing their desire for basic essentialities. I think the vaccines have failed them, much like China has failed the world.
Right. Dr. Bagai, stay with us. In fact, let's now listen into another video emerging of a drone giving instructions to people to comply with COVID curbs.
的居民朋友们，在疫情封控期间，请严格遵守市政府相关防疫规定，控制灵魂对自由的渴望，不要开窗择场。此行为有疫情传播。有您家园的居民朋友们，在疫情封控 期间，请严格遵守市政府相关防疫规定，控制灵魂对自由的渴望，不要开窗歌唱。此行为有疫情传播。有您家园的居民朋友们，在疫情封控期间，请严格遵守市政府相关防疫规定，控制灵魂对自由的渴望，不要开窗歌唱。此行为有疫情传播。
Well, it certainly seems like a science fiction movie, Ambassador Mukherjee, but it is not. It's reality. It's China in 2022. Okay, we seem to have lost Ambassador Mukherjee once again. Let me bring in Venus Upadhyay at this point as well, who's joining us. Venus Upadhyay, clearly, of course, as I said, it's not a science fiction movie. It's not a horror film. But this is the reality that China is seeing in 2022. Drones in the air patrolling.
Yeah, it's very concerning. Actually, what's more important is to understand what that lady, what that female voice from the drone is saying. And I'm quoting, it said, "Control your soul's desire for freedom. Do not open the window or sing." So that's what the drone was telling people, while the people were actually asking for help or protesting. There is another thing which has come up in the last 24 hours. There is a massive pileup of the cargo ships along the Chinese coast. And these ships are waiting to deliver resources of all kinds of resources, including grains, into the country. So there are about 500 of them. Now, why are they waiting? Why are they not able to unload? So it certainly, the situation in China is very serious right now. And as you said, it's completely out of a science fiction. The point is that a pandemic situation is a very tragic situation. It's a tragic situation. It has been a tragic situation everywhere around the world. But the way we respond to it determines how we are able to ease the misery, the pain that the people are going through. But it seems that this inhuman tactics, this communist tactics that the Chinese regime is using against its own people, there's no way to actually, it's very, very inhuman. It should really wake up the world and clearly show the world about what the Chinese Communist Party is. And as the rest of the panelists have adequately outlined, that this has got to also do with the domestic politics and the fact that in the autumn, the Congress is going to happen. So I think the world should wake up about the true nature of the Chinese Communist Party. If they can do it to their people, they can do it to anyone.
And here's another video now circulating on social media. People are weeping and screaming from their apartments, and sirens can be heard in the background as well. Let's play it out. Dr. Bagai, let me rope you in here. Do such draconian restrictions help, sir? Are they needed? Or are there other ways to combat the virus and this new spread?
Yeah, there are three quick points in your question. A lockdown of any grade, of any severity only helps, and there is worldwide data and statistics to back this medically, socially, and economically, in the first phase of an unknown organism precipitating a pandemic. It never works in the second wave, third wave, fourth wave, and it's complete foolishness to be doing this kind of military rule lockup of citizens. I think even animals will be treated better into the third year of the pandemic. Unjustified, unmedical, unscientific, but all these three words depict China. That's what China is.
Very true.
Yes, you wanted to add something, Professor Nalapat?
No, I'm just saying that I can't improve on what Dr. Bagai is saying. I can't improve.
Dr. Kondapalli, closing comment to you.
I think in the recent times with the zero COVID policy, they wanted to indicate to the rest of the world that they are more efficient. But when these cases have increased substantially in 17 cities in China, the whole argument collapsed that China is more efficient. Secondly, the Chinese Communist Party previously promoted that vulture journalism by bringing journalists to the ICUs in India or to the crematoria by saying that, you have thousands of these dead bodies in India. But today, now, China is facing a similar problem. I wish they invite the NewsX to cover the Shanghai events.
NewsX has been banned there from 2020. And so has Sunday Guardian.
Yes, please elaborate on that, Professor Nalapal.
No, I'm saying that among the first global publications to be banned by the PRC, Sunday Guardian and NewsX have that honor. So I'm afraid Srikanth will be disappointed. I don't think there's any way that a NewsX reporter is going to get a visa except if he buys a one-way ticket.
Absolutely. And which is why there is no way for these people as well to protest or to have their say, Dr. Kondapalli, which is why it's a pretty big miracle that these videos have even come out of China, or we're even being able to access them, isn't it?
I think public control is basis for all this. And through that, they would like to suppress the information as well. About actual infections, the figure of 25,000, we should take it with a huge pinch of salt. It should be in lakhs. Shanghai being a big city and highly mobile. And by the way, incidentally, the Shanghai Public Hospital was the first one to detect that the virus in Wuhan actually has this lethal effect. They are the first one to do that. And then later on, the Wuhan Institute of Virology confirmed it. In October 2019 onwards, when they spread. In January 2020, it was the Shanghai Public Hospital which detected that this is indeed the novel coronavirus and lethal.
Okay, yes, Venus Upadhyay, last word to you.
Just hoping that these inhuman ways that the Chinese Communist Party is using against its own people, spurred by the domestic fractional politics within China, will likely open up new windows for the world to China.
Okay, let's leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.